Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another Elder Brain summer stream series thing. As you can see, it is just me tonight again. We're doing another art stream. We got people at work and people camping in the woods and people stuck somewhere without flights. And so I just figured I'll do another art stream tonight and maybe knock off a few or maybe all of these characters in one pass. I was able to draw them all in one night. Maybe I can finish them all in one night as well. We'll see. But if you missed the last one, you can go back and check it out. Drew these 4 portraits for our Pathfinder characters in our last art stream, and hoping tonight we can finish them or finish a couple. We'll see how far we get. I think the portrait is maybe the only thing we'll get done. The frames for each of them that I talked about, making them kind of specific maybe to their class, I don't know that I'll get done, but we'll see. So we'll start where we started last time, which was Ide, and my workspace here is a disaster. I can't remember where everybody is. There's Ide. So there is Ide's character, and I've been humming and hawing the last couple of weeks about how do I want to do this, and I think the simplest thing for me to do is line art and then color it in. As much fun as it would be to do realism, that's a lot more work. So we're going to stick with line art and see if we can't finish off a couple of these characters. So where is Ide? There's Ide there. I'm just going to create a new clipping group so I can just keep Ide's stuff all together. We're going to grab something that is almost black, not quite all the way to black. I like to use something slightly different, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do pencil lines or hard lines. I think I'll do So a penciled line looks like that. A hard line is going to look like that. Make a penciled line a little bit smaller, perhaps. Do something like that. The harder I press, the more dark the color is. I go with a thinner weight, and I can push harder. Yeah, I think I might do that. Well, let's do some test lines. So I'm going to drop the opacity on that a little bit, and we're going to try to do this as few extra lines as possible. I can always go back in and erase. Something like that. So how are we looking? It's hard to say. When we get to the coloring, there's going to be a lot of bleeding of lines around, or bleeding of color around these lines because they're not solid. I think I need to make a decision. Maybe I just do a little bit of work around here and then get some color going and just see what I like or don't like. I don't see anybody in chat yet, but if anybody stops in, feel free to say hi. If you have any questions about the process or about the characters, feel free to ask. And if you're watching this on VOD, you can feel free to post a comment in YouTube, and I'll take a look at those at some point and respond. I think I need to do hard lines. Yeah, I think I gotta do hard lines. Let's just remove that, create a new layer. We'll do it again. This one that I was using, some other work I was doing before. I don't remember which one it was. Might have been that one. I think it was that one. Throw that over to the favorites. if there is a favorite. Oh, it says it's in my favorites. Oh, it's right there. All right. So I don't want massive lines like that. I'm gonna bring it down, and then that's gonna allow me to push a little bit harder. What I like about this brush is that you can do kind of broken up lines if you want, or you can do solid lines. Solid lines can be harder because then you got to get the line right. Sometimes that's the hard part about line art is getting the lines correct the first time. Otherwise, you just, do line, erase, line, erase. Now, the problem is I'm a lefty and Control Z is obviously on this side, so doing that is a problem. I could probably assign a button on this side of the keyboard, but that's the keybind over there. So I'm not gonna. That line's not thick enough. I want to change this just a little bit. So bring it like this, break down. There we go. Is that line too thick? I feel like it's going to be too thick when I get into these details here. I might bump it down just a couple of notches there. I think that's better. There we go. Oh yeah, I put this up here because I was going to get music ready for me. And might as well play it. Let's see. So a little Bob Seger. And some mellow vibe there. Oh man, that is a shaky line. So I wear this glove thing that helps smooth out your interaction on this. But I don't know, sometimes you get a little jumpy. What's happening here? There we go. That's why sometimes I'll do little streaks. I want to confirm that music is not coming through. No, it's not. Okay, good. Fantastic. Hello. Oh. Something like that. I mean, this outside line is not too important because there'll be a lot of shadow back there, but it won't be black like this, so it'll be a little bit different. All right, so the problem with music is now I'm going to be too busy nodding my head to the music. I'm not going to interact as much with the chat, so you guys feel free. Ask questions, say hi. Help me out with a interaction here. That's going to be kind of furry coming back in here, so we'll just make that kind of a messy line. And that's going to come into a hard leather, like edge border on this side at least. inside edge is a little bit trickier because well, how am I going to do this? So fur up here. So let me think about what exactly is making up here. So is this a leather, not a leather, a fur patch that's going over top of the shoulder, and then underneath that is some leather padding that maybe it's sewn into? I think maybe that's what's going to make the most sense. So this can flatten out here and come up. I'm going to get some furry bits here. That should probably be a little bit more pointy because that fur is going to be going out from the shoulder. I'm just throwing squiggles in right now. I don't know what exactly I'm going to use from this. We'll get this for sure. Is it inside leather pad? Furry squiggles are tight. I'm glad you enjoyed them, Craig. Does that look too pointed? I think that's better. Just give some faint outlines here for that brow. Come in there with a little color. So I'm using the black outlines for anything that is like rigid features. The tattoos I'm not going to outline in black. Those are just going to be straight color. And I think these things here, I guess I got to make a decision. Are these things actually coming off of the mask? Like, are they on top of it, or are they painted on the mask? Craig, maybe you want to weigh in on that since you're here. Um, the markings on Ide's face, are they like things that have been stitched onto this mask, or are they painted on or drawn on to the mask? Um, Thank you for subbing, Craig. All right, so these are leather pads. Maybe I can make these ones. These ones can be kind of furry as well. I think that's pretty good. Something weird happening over here on this side of his body. I'm trying to sort out. It's too forward facing. That's what it is. Like this side that's, I suppose I'll go. No, it'd be the same. So this side that's in, it's like we can see the flat side there. But this side on the far side, I feel like it almost looks like it's coming this way in front of him. But then he looks too broad. Could I do a little warp magic here? Um, oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Give me a warp tool. No. Something about that looks wrong. So, if we do this, what I'm struggling with here in my brain is you see how the gentleman's shoulder here is much bigger and predominant on this side, and it's almost like it's fading away into the distance over here, and I don't feel like I'm getting that. I'm definitely not getting that here. That needs to be more angled, so that's got to be removed. So this is not something I caught when I was doing the sketches, so I got to rethink this quickly. I gotta do what I just did there. So the shoulder's wrong. So that's the previous shoulder. I feel like, again, I've got a good line here, but then this line almost needs to go, so shoulder height. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Shoulder is almost staggered like that, so the arm needs to kind of come down like this, and then fade back in behind him here. Okay. So this will still come from here, but then it's got to go down. I should really be working on my red layer. Maybe with a red here. Little sketcher. Okay, so let me hit a new one. So this is coming down like this, and then, I mean, it's really just got to kind of die off behind there. And I think this needs to be smaller. It needs to be maybe back this way. Then we would actually see more of that arm piece. And then the arm could come down here. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. So when I was in grade 9 art, I think, for anybody that was confused why I just kept all those lines and was drawing over top of lines, my grade 9 art teacher always taught us that if you've made a mistake in your lines, don't erase them until you've fixed them. Otherwise, you'll end up just making the same line again and not realize it. So if you're ever struggling with your art, and you're like, I keep drawing this line and then erase. I mean, you watch digital artists, they do it, they draw a line, they erase, they draw a line, they erase, and it's like they all look the same, dude. That's part of the problem, according to my grade 9 art teacher. Draw the line. If you don't like it, draw another line over top of the other line until you get the line that you like, and then erase all the others. For anybody that's interested in learning about art, that's about all I have to offer you. All right. So we make these adjustments now. So this shoulder is just kind of sitting off the side here, and it's kind of off to the side, so it's maybe looking a little bit matted. It'll have to be done with the actual drawing, the actual color. No, that comes to a point down there on the other side, so it should come to a point down here as well. Okay, and I just got to join. Where should that hood be? That should be on top. It should be on top, so this line here should go away. I'm about to do the thing I was just saying not to do. I think that's pretty good. Now we get to work on the color palette. So what I'll be doing here is creating a new layer, throwing that underneath the line art layer. So now anything that I color is going to be, it's going to come up under. So let me grab It's got skin like that, obviously tattoo covering it, but let's just do this. You're gonna see that just goes underneath the black lines. And as I add another layer, let's say I go to the gray of his hood here, I can then just color over top. And so when you work in layers like this, you can be messy as long as your layer structure is proper. Let me just grab this teal color. We'll do that one there. And I'm going to throw that on top of that layer. I'm just going to do this. This is going to give me a basic structure of my palette here. That fur, let's go with the blue color there. I was talking with somebody this week that I did spend a year in college at Sheridan for art fundamentals. So I have a very small, mild amount of training. And while I am a creative person, one of the weakest things with my art, and probably why I didn't do very well or pursue it any further, is my art, or is my color theory. I have a hard time putting good colors together. So what I'll often do is I'll go to Google and I'll type in, if I'm looking for a blue color palette, I'll type in blue color palettes and I'll choose one that I think is fitting for whatever I'm drawing. It's nice to have a character to work from that I don't have to worry about a palette. But just so I can get a sense for what our finished product's going to be like, grab some colors off the side here. So it looks like Ide has brown hair. So his eyebrows will be kind of a brown color. So I think it makes the most sense to just come in here and start blocking out areas. It's a different brush for this. So I can use a bigger version of that brush. Now I toyed with the idea last time of doing watercolors, but I just don't have enough practice with them digitally, well, even in real life. So I'm going to start with just basic colors, and then I'm just going to add in shading. I think in the end, I might try to sepia tone it just a little bit to make them look like older portraits or something. We're just going to use this here for Ide's arms as well. Not exactly the match color, but we'll do this. And then his arms are just going to kind of, or the portrait is just going to kind of fade off into nothing down here. So we'll just kind of do this. What's nice about the brushes that I have in this pack is that depending on the amount of pressure, the size of the brush will change. So if I'm pressing really lightly, it looks like this. If I'm pressing as hard as possible, it just goes to the big size. So I can kind of feather colors in. Not all the brushes are like that. The big circle one here, it's just, you can see as I'm moving around, it's just one size. And so it doesn't matter if I'm pushing lightly or heavy, it's all the same size. So I like to use brushes that have that push sensitivity. Helps you get into those smaller areas. Anything else on Ide? Oh yeah, that stripe. Let's get that stripe in there. Bring it back up to here. That was size 6. I'm gonna do this. This. Looks right enough. Go back to here, size 12. I'll come in here and do this. And so again, I'm just blocking in color here so that I can get a sense for what the overall pictures, what the colors are going to be. And then I'll go back in and I'll add shadows or highlights. There's a few different ways to do shadows and highlights. I'm probably going to do a simpler shadow and highlight for these because I want to try to do all four, but also just it'll be a little bit easier. These are just portraits. We need something for our Pathfinder characters because right now we have nothing. As well, we have our Forge characters, which again I know is limited because Forge only has so many props and items. For people to use. So you're kind of at the mercy of what it has. So a little creative liberty is kind of fun. And if there's anything that the guys want added to their characters, then I can just add it. I guess those leather patches are also gray. A lot of little fiddly bits here. I might switch to a smaller brush so I don't have to constantly be adjusting my pressure. Because while it's nice that you can do that, if you have to do a lot of it, it's just tricky. That. No, actually, there's an easier way to do this. Especially for large areas, so I'll demonstrate that. So what I can do is I can outline an area with the color that I want. I can use the bucket fill tool. Now, this program, it ain't perfect. You'll see it leaves these dotted lines around. Do it again, but then you'll notice when it does that right around here, I'll undo that. Right around here, I've got those feathered edges, but when I do it again, I'm actually going to bring the color in a little bit. So typically when I do this, I fill it and then I go back around with just the brush and I eliminate those extra dotted lines, which are frustrating. But that's a way to fill in big areas. I will state for the record that I am not an expert in digital art or in Krita. I'm not actually a digital artist or anything like that. I don't do this professionally. I do this as a hobby. So things that I'm suggesting, there's probably people who know more about this program that are like, duh, there's even a better way to do it than you're doing it, Mike. You're probably right, but I don't know those ways. For anybody that's a hobby artist like me, sometimes a little tip and trick can help just ease the process for people. All right, so then we'll move on to these areas here. These are gonna look kind of silly. Oh yeah, they're on top of the gray. The fur is going to be tricky because it's just hard to convey fur, I have found. But other characters for a different campaign that I was drawing. One of the players was playing in. Craig, you can correct me. I'm probably getting it wrong. Um, Ursine character, the bear Hank. Um, he was first of all a bear, and if memory serves me right, he was also. Let's see if I can find this. Let me just pull this over here so you guys don't have to see all my stuff. Uh, where's Hank? Hank. So there was two iterations of Hank. There's Hank. He turned into a bear eventually. So the first iteration was this guy, and this is when I was still learning how to do digital art. So this is actually just a copy of somebody else's barbarian character holding something. I just turned that character into the character that I was trying to draw. So I just customized it to be an orc with a giant sword and a bear cowl. But then when he actually turned into a bear, I believed I did grab I grabbed a bear, a standing bear to kind of copy, but this is a whole lot more work. You can see just how detailed the fur is. I don't know that I'm going to go this detailed on Craig's character, but there's just a lot that you can do, and this was fun to do, but it was a ton of work. I don't think about how like fur gets its different colors. There's so many different layers that are going on there that make the fur have different shades and all that stuff, and so I don't know how detailed I'll get with this, but that is how crazy it can get. Um, and how it's just hard to produce, and I have to decide what's the level of realism that I'm going for with these portraits, especially given the amount of time it takes to do each one. Now, I've chosen Ide to go first just because that's what I started with last time, but Ides might be. I don't. Hardest isn't the right word. Ides just might be the most time consuming because Ide has so much detail. Sir Sal actually probably will take quite a amount of time, quite a fair amount of time as well, because I've got a likeness that I'm trying to replicate, and doing people's faces is very difficult. But he's also just got a lot of stuff, and Ide's got a lot of fiddly bits as well. I will say though that fur I have a tool for. Um, Maybe the harder thing to create is metal. The hardest thing for me to create is metal. Metal's really difficult because it's not just here's a brush that's textured like metal, because metal isn't about texture necessarily. It's about color. Um, there's so many colors that make up different kinds of metal, and that's really what tells you if something is metal. The glossy bits, the shiny bits, the scratches, the scrapes, the things that tell you, hey, this is not plastic. And I feel like oftentimes my metal items end up just looking like cheap plastic. It's a hard mixture to get. I've tried to watch many tutorials on how to create metal, and it's like, oh my goodness, there is just so much to do. And knowing where to put highlights and stuff and the proper tools to do it, it's very difficult, I find. A lot of my artworks, the metal ends up being just bad. I think the only metal that I've ever done that I was actually really proud with how it turned out was Torque's um, maul on his back. The fact that it was rusty made a huge difference, but if you take a look at Torque's, I found a texture brush that came in and gave this like real gritty texture to it that, like, I didn't draw all of these little things on here. I'll just say that flat out. This is all a texture brush that I was able to brush on with different colors, and the way that they overlapped sat beautifully and gave this real nice rust texture. I have since forgotten which tool that was. But like if you look at that iron, that looks like rusty iron. These axes down here do not look like sharpened steel. They look like he's got some kind of plastic triangles, and those are axes, by the way. They look like just kind of plastic axes that he's got on his back, and it looks kind of janky. But the axe itself, or the maul, sorry, that rust texture, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I was very happy to find that texture brush, which gave me exactly the look that I was going for. Now, the other difference is that back then, I was doing a whole lot more practice with this stuff. I was in the middle of creating all 4 of those characters and doing other stuff, and I just have not spent the appropriate amount of time with my digital art stuff over the last few years as I would like to. And I say that as I would like to. Whenever I sit down to do more digital art, I think, why haven't I been practicing? But then when I'm not doing it for projects like this, I just don't have as much desire. I don't know. Kind of comes and goes. Things like that. I've had kind of a relationship like that with my guitar. Times where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to learn all the chords, all the songs, all the music that I like. And I sit down and I play, and I'm like, oh, why haven't I been practicing more? And then I learn the song that I want to learn, and I tuck my guitar away, and 2 years later I pick it back up again, and I'm like, oh, why haven't I been practicing? This vicious cycle of, wishing that I did more. And then when I don't, thinking about past me saying, oh, I'll do it again. I'll do it some other time. I just never get around to it. There's probably a life lesson in there. Well, I guess there's maybe a little bit more detail that I could add in there. He's got kind of this lighter teal thing here. I'm going to block that in as gray for now. What I'm probably going to do after this is all done, and maybe I don't need to do this, is, or do the extra details below, is I'm going to flatten everything. This is below. I don't need to be intricate here. There we go. Is I'm probably I'm gonna duplicate my clipping group, make the original invisible, turn it off, and then take the new one, flatten it, and then I'll probably take this big sponge, well, not spongy, but this big like clay thing, and just do one of these on the bottom and fade it out, kind of like has been done there. But I gotta finish it first. uh, all right, so there's all the color blocked in for Ide's character. Now it's time to go in and do the details. Looking at the time, I don't think I'm going to finish all 4 tonight, although some of them will be easier than others. Sorry, snack break. Went for a walk with my wife earlier and we picked up some Mentos. I apologize, I'm going to chew on a Mentos, a broken Mentos. Why is this broken? Oh well. So, like I said, there was a way that I was going to show you guys that this can be done. So you do, we turn on a new paint layer, and you throw this thing on. And what that's going to allow me to do is take a palette like this, just grab a textured thing, make this a little bit smaller, the half opacity. And see how it only keeps it on the layers that are below it. So, no, actually I missed a little bit. Get a black line there as well. There we go. Let me just add this in because that's been bugging me. Okay. So, with this new layer, I take my texture brush, and I take this. And what I can do, actually I am going to make that a little bit smaller. Even smaller than that. Let's make it down here. What I can do is I can come in like this, and I can start to add in textures, or not textures, but shading. And then I can obviously come back in and erase, where I don't want a bunch of shadow, like right up here. We do want shadow in the eyes. And then you just come in here and you adjust this until you find something that you like. Maybe it's an overlay. No, that's no good. It's always when you come in for the shading that you see all the bits you missed. These different things will do different things with the color. A lot of different things. I'm not really happy with what this is doing. I'm going to play with the opacity on that as well. Much difference between the burn and the multiply. I might stick with the multiply. And just come in and erase wherever you think there would be highlights. What I might do is come back in with a light color and highlight over top of this. So like the bridge of the nose, the front cover of this mask, there'd be highlight, not just an absence of shadow. But, you pick a direction for the light to be coming in. So, if we say, eyes facing like this, and the light's coming in here, what I do, I just go straight to a white. I'll make this a little bit smaller because highlights tend to be, no, maybe not that small. Highlights tend to be a little bit lighter. A little bit of highlight here under the cheek, a little bit here under the cheek. A big highlight right here. Obviously right here on this leading edge. I'm getting some high contrast stuff here. mark out like that. And so then I come in here and we can make it an overlay. We could make it, oh, that's too bright. So if you multiply, it's just going to go away. If you overlay, then it's going to come in like this. So maybe I drop the opacity just a little bit. And then we can kind of come in and we can feather it out a little bit more. What this allows you to do, because I could take each color, let's say I was doing the teal, I could take each color and add, a specific color of highlight. And I might do a little bit of that. But this is kind of a fast and cheap way to get highlights and shadows without spending ages and doing a whole bunch of, color work. Which, especially on something like this where I'm hoping to do, as many as possible in one sitting, I need to cut some corners if I can. And if I just kind of leave this layered on top, then whenever I come in and, try to do more work on like the shoulder pads here, then this will just kind of accent whatever I do. Go back to the shadow. Is this the color that I was using for the shadow? No, that's the one I was using. Like I said, shadow has a tendency to be a little bit more predominant. I think highlights something you got to be sparing with. Shadow is something you can be a little bit more liberal with. Sure, there's a life lesson in that as well. I don't know what, but you can kind of feather them out. The thing to keep in mind with stuff like this is that if the light is coming in from this side, then everything on this side of his body should be a lighter color than everything else on this side of his body. So even though I would say, something like this side of the helmet or the cowl is not necessarily in shadow, like these lines here signify greater shadows, this side of his head should be darker. I mark this as like a bisecting line. This side of his head should be darker just because of its distance from the source of light. So, we look at that kind of center line on his body, and everything over here should be just a little bit darker than everything on this side. I'll feather that out so it's not quite so predominant. Like I put all those highlights on that shoulder, but really this shoulder would be a little bit on the darker side. And even over there. Now, I threw some pretty heavy white highlights on these pieces here. That should actually be on this side. Let me come back in here. I'm going to drop the size of the brush. These should pop a little bit more because they are, again, just that little bit closer to the actual light source. I can always add a little bit of light. And then to kind of help things, I can come in with blend tool so that this doesn't look so harsh, and I can kind of just soften up some of this color. I don't want to, like the whole point of using that brush was to get that texture. So I don't want to totally lose the texture. but I also don't necessarily want such harsh lines for the shadows, for some of the shadows. For some of the shadows, I certainly do want harsher lines. And kind of break up a little bit of that stuff that just looks like brush strokes. I don't want brush strokes. That's a little better. Some other colors from over here. I'll start working a little bit of detail on the face. So I want that to go on top of that layer. Again, this color is being affected by the shadow that I just threw on I's face. So that's why even though I've grabbed, well, not a light gray, but a gray, you can see some of the color variation in here. And then over here. And Ide has these bright blue eyes. Here's where I really get to see if I've done the eyes any justice or if they look like crap. Looks a little on the crazy side. Again, eyes are so hard. Let me take a look at how I've done Tayland in the past. Tayland's got a human face. See, and Tayland is one I went full realism, with the exception of his shirt. It's so hard to do a shirt realism. That's a horrible hand right there. Face isn't terrible. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. Okay, so I've done kind of something similar. I don't know, I feel like the eyes look kind of weird, but oh, well, we're going to stick with that for now. Can't spend all day. So I think a lot of these features are going to get kind of drowned out by the tattoos that we have going on here. There's the basic facial structure. A lot of this is going to be covered up by tattoo. So we determined that these were tattoos that went around his face. So, and then inside of that is kind of that like purple color. So we're going to go up and around here. Actually, I'm going to make the tattoos a separate layer. I'm going to come around here like this. And then come down the face here and then across. What did I come up with for this again? I'm trying to remember. Oh, not that one. I need to throw this layer on top. Let's move this up here. That one, there we go. wonder if those are maybe a part of his eyebrows. Oh. Something like that. And I think I got to erase that. Okay. And there's that kind of purpley color in the in between. Let me just throw another layer on to make this easier. I'm gonna just do this. I think that's better. And then there's these little brown, maybe they're supposed to be like golden dots. Something like that. They should be a little bit bigger on this side because his face is not turned. Or this side of the face is almost flattened to us. Now, are they readable from this distance? Because, I mean, I can see them, but I'm looking for them. Do they need to be readable? No, because they're not really readable from here. Although they do almost look like they're coming off the eye. I suppose there's kind of like a deeper eyeshadow right around the inside edge there, isn't there? I'm going to throw a little bit of that in. I'm going to throw another layer in here, and I'm going to go with an airbrush, which I'm going to turn way the heck down. Am I still watching? Yes. So if I do something like, but it needs to go, if we do that, there we go. There we go. Well, welcome aboard, Ian. We're only on Ide. Progress is progress. It's true. I feel like it looks strange that he's got this little strip of skin here, so I think I'm going to fill that in with something. I'm going to go with this kind of little color right there. And I'll just throw it on this layer. we're just gonna do that. I feel like that looks better than it was looking with a little strip of skin just right here. So I'm gonna go with this being kind of painted on or marked on his mask, as opposed to sitting proud of it. I wonder if the mask is too bright. Uh, for this, yeah, I think it is. It should be bright just right there. So I think I'm gonna tone down the teal. Let's get a color like that going. Maybe I'll do something like this. And I might blur that into the bright teal. That's too bright. They're too big. Does this look good? I don't know that it looks good yet. Let me fiddle. I'm gonna bring that gray teal in. So maybe just this bright teal is just a little too bright, so I gotta kind of dull it a little bit. Well, I'm gonna be covering this with that gray color, so it's really only gonna be right here. I gotta keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go back. Hmm. Should I just outline that? I think I will, just because it's kind of getting lost, I think. Easy enough to take away later if I decide I don't like it. I could draw this line. Again, I'm doing that thing that my art teacher said not to do, but there we go. So, yeah, now that you're here, you can tell me what you think about something here. Toying with the idea. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Oh man, look at all these places that I've missed. Toying with the idea of doing kind of a faint sepia tone wash and then taking the whole thing and kind of doing that with it, like our portrait in behind. Haven't exactly landed yet on that, but toying with the idea. I really want to do something more with these shoulders, so textures, hair, hair thick, hair soft, hair thin. Hair thick's probably good. So let's take our purple color. Is that? Nope, that's not that color. That one? I think it's that one. So if we go like this and throw that on top, let me do a little bit of that, and then, oh my. That needs to be much, much smaller. Go for a semi-realistic fur here. I know there's hard rigid lines on the outside, so we're just gonna have to ignore those, or I might have to remove those in favor of this. We'll see. Actually, I should do this. Oh. It's possible that I come back and remove these outside lines. So let me just proof myself against that. I'll need to kind of overflow just a little bit. And this is just the bottom layer of fur. And then we come in here and we do kind of a mid-tone. Put this on top. Actually, I don't like that one. There we go. Do something over the top like this. And this is kind of how I did the the hair on the character that I showed you guys earlier, Hank. It's also how I did the fur on Bira, my red parent panda character. Using a hairbrush tool like this and then just layering colors. Now, it kind of looks fuzzy. It's not. That's just how the brush works. When you zoom in, it looks better. It doesn't read as well from farther away. But like that's how I did the paws, the face, and all of that. So I'm kind of leaning into that just a little bit. I got to keep in mind, right up here by the cowl, keep forgetting you guys can't see where my hands point at a certain point. That should be darker because that is in shadow. And my shadow textures are over top of this, but I don't know that they're predominant enough. I feel like this could easily dominate what's going on. And then from here, I'm going to come in with an even lighter color. And I'm going to thin this one out a little bit. I'm going to choose certain areas to highlight where there would be highlight. There's a mat of fur over here. Goal here is to just try to create the idea that there is fur. Fur has many different colors and shades in it. Actually, that's maybe something I should consider as well. So if I come back here and I take away the outline, see, that's actually starting to look more like fur, and so I think that's what I'm going to do. The rest of him will be outlined. This is big risk. I'll make sure to copy the layer before I do any big changes. But I will I'll come back in and erase these lines specifically that that define the fur, and we'll see how that looks. I'm just throwing in some different colors in here just to have a teeny little bit of variation. So this is slightly more green. I don't really know that it's doing much. There's the really dark layer underneath. So I'm going to come back to the dark color and make it a little bit darker. I'm going to add just some lower colors in here, just to maybe help accent some of the brighter colors. Not that they need really a lot of help there. They're doing pretty good now. This wolf's fur, as Craig has described, that he's probably patched onto his shoulders, looking a little blue. Okay, so let me just duplicate this. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete. I'm just going to see how this looks without the outline. It might look stupid that the rest of the thing is outlined and this isn't. But we're going to take a look and see how it looks. It looks a little bit on the strange side. It's like, where exactly do the lines pick up again? I suppose one way I could settle this, actually, I've kind of already done this, but actually I could just do this. I'll remove that. I'll open that one back up again. I just put them on top of everything. So now if I come in and delete this, oh, not off the primary one. Make a copy, Mike. But then that gets tricky because then I've got the shading that needs to kind of go on top as well. Okay, I think, all right. So now if I make a duplicate of that, delete that one, and erase the hard lines under here. And if I just go to like there, just erase some of the more obvious stuff underneath. I think we're looking pretty good here. I think that looks pretty good, pretty effective there. We need to bring this up as well. Okay, so now I bring this tool back up, and I go back into here, and I just start doing the same thing on this side. Keeping in mind that this side will be a little bit tamer overall because it's kind of going away from the camera, as it were. Now that leaves the question of like, what do I do with these bits and these bits down here? It's a lot of work, but geez, we're already at 9:30. Oh man, yeah, I don't know how far I'm getting tonight. We'll get as far as we can. I think slippery fill is going to be easier. I think slippery fill is going to be maybe a half an hour, just because there's not a lot to his character. His character, sorry, not his character, but like drawing his character. Slippery Phil's a very interesting character. Go here, jump to here. Now we're starting to get some of those highlight tufts. I suppose this is more like main color of the fur. Thank you, Ian. I'm glad you picked up on that. Because yeah, Slippery Phil, certainly a great character. His design, the character or the character visual design is a little bit simpler than he doesn't have fur on him. He's just got slippery skin. Okay, I think I've done a good enough job making this one brighter than the other one, because it would be, because it's on the side of the light source and this one is not. The outsides on here are a little bit brighter. Maybe I'll add a little bit more highlight down here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to erase. Oh, that's too dark. What color is that? That one? There it is. Yeah, I think I gotta do... Oh, that one there. Suddenly just had this image. I mean, usually it's cooking shows that do it. You'd probably see that on like Art Attack as well, where artist is doing something and they're showing you the technique. They're like, see, you can just do stuff like this and, you know, it looks the way that you want to look. So you could just keep doing that. But here, look, I already did one ahead of time and here it is. I find myself wishing that I had that. Is this stuff like this that is, it's tedious. It's very easy to just make it look messy and not look right. The shoulders were a lot easier to accomplish because they're bigger areas, so you can kind of play with the light a little bit more. This is a little bit trickier because they're just little strips. But we'll make it work. The tricky part is there's going to be overlap here, so that should really maybe not be as light right there. I should maybe try to get more dark into here. I almost need a darker color to get that. Okay. Just don't bring the highlights, the real bright highlights into there too much. And this side is very much on the source of the light, so it's going to be much brighter. Although, is it too much? Like, it's not white fur. It's kind of this, like... I've perhaps gone far too much on the blue side of the fur, but... it is what it is. I could always throw a mask on top of this stuff. Kind of bring the color back to something slightly more realistic. Okay, so let's say that's done. Just gonna erase those hard black lines underneath, because we don't need them. And now all my hard work on getting those edges are gonna bite me now, because there's no color under them. So let's get that gray going again. Yeah, it looks a little silly because he's got, realistic fur with very matte, flat things here. Oh well. What I might do is come in and do just a teeny bit more shadow work with a darker color. I might even go with a straight black. Just make it a little bit more see-through. And maybe this can be like the real, no. You're getting real brooding dark highlight or dark shadows here around those hard edges. It looks very dark right now. I haven't made any adjustments to how this layer is going to sit. So I will get there. In case anybody's freaking out like, it's too dark. I know. I can see that. And furthermore, I agree. It's too dark. Although maybe Craig would disagree on that. Maybe it's not dark enough. It's possible he thinks it's too bright. I don't think Craig is still here, though. Because he's definitely brighter than he is here. So maybe I need to do some work to darken him up a little bit now. I feel like this layer should be beneath the feathers. The fur. This is going to help accentuate where the fur is sticking out. Little details like these that take your image from being kind of flat and blah. Give it a little bit more life. And then again, this is what I found to be an easy way to do this. Instead of trying to get, each of my colors a darker color and shade with that and then change colors and do it again. And just do it with a single layer on top of everything. And you can even bring texture to whatever it is that you're painting with this. So like These shoulder pieces are leather. I like using this texture brush for leather because I find it just has that kind of grainy, gritty little bit in there. So it's not just a flat, shade. It's got some little bit of depth to it. The arms need a lot of work, I know. Like I said earlier, because of the way that Ida is facing, everything on this side of him should be darker than the other side just because of the proximity to the light of the other side. Come in with the blur brush and just start to blur a little bit. It's not quite so hard an edge, especially on these sleeves. They look just a little too harsh to me. I don't want to kill the texture. That's why I like that brush, but just kind of take away some of the hard edges. The edges that seem or feel too hard, at least. Face in particular. And if it doesn't look like much is happening, that's because I'm not pressing very hard. This is one of those tools that the pressure sensitivity really makes a big difference. The teal is the stuff that I really need to work on because right now they just look like teal fields. Everything else kind of has some form, some function, some texture on it. Those teal areas just look like a strip on top. Okay, so I'm going to then play with this just a little bit. I might drop the opacity on it just a little bit. All right, and then what's left is the teal. And then that's Ide. Where's the teal layer? That's nothing. There it is. Okay. So, there's kind of this crisscross pattern on his arms. I forgot about this. It's kind of like wrapping almost. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do here is I am just going to take color itself. I'm going to grab some variation on it, and I'm going to hit it with some different colors to give us a little bit of texture. So there's already the shadow on this, but I feel like I just need to break it up. I feel like it looks too solid, and like I need to hit it with just something to kind of break it up. I also feel like I need to maybe dull the color a little bit. Doesn't take much to give it texture. Just a little bit here and there. All right, that's looking better. Go away, Windows. First too bright. Okay. So let's come in here, grab one of these, see if this is going to work. So I want to overlay this color. Oh, what did I just do? Nope, I don't want that. I want a layer on top. That's too big. Okay, so if I multiply that down, it darkens everything. If I overlay that color, that makes it real gross. If I burn, that looks horrible. If I color it, that's not terrible. So then I can also do this. I can duplicate this and I can start to play with what's going on here. I can color it again. I can burn it. If I do that, I don't know if I like that though. I think that's closer to what's going on over here, but now I think it just looks weird because it's realistic and the rest of it is not. Okay, so let me duplicate this. I'm going to turn that one off. And then I am going to start flattening. Oh, can I not flatten? So if I do that, it takes away. Oh, yeah, if I do that, it takes away that. Can I? Nope, can't do that to the full layer. Huh. So, oh, no, that just. Um, okay, so what I can do, I can force this. Let's make that a PNG. We'll just do that. Save. I'll save it back as a Krita file. Then we'll open the file we just saved. If I do that, and I come in here and let's do and then if I throw a Coupon group on that, mask it, and let's go back to this color here. With a brush. And then if I multiply that down or overlay that or color that, I don't know if you're still there, Ian, but I think that kind of deals with the color grading issue that I was struggling with. Throwing a sepia tone on that, 47%. And if I do something like that and throw it on, you know, a frame, which one is that one? All right, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah, and I'm thinking if I just thinking back to this guy, if I throw them on, you know, a canvas or something that's kind of tan colored with maybe just kind of a shadow behind them, and then give them each maybe an oval frame or a frame like this, and then kind of tailor the frame. Maybe just if I was to do something like this to take, you know, the gold filigree here, and maybe it's just a different color for each character. I agree. I agree. I like how it mutes the teal stripe because the teal stripe was looking janky in my brain. I didn't like it. Next, it's that or that. I like that. Okay. All right. All right. Well, it took 2 hours to get here, but that's the first character done. I think it's time for a break, and then I'll come back and I'll see if I can at least get Slippery Phil done tonight. I think I could. Now I'm just realizing he's got a lot of buckles and strapping on his vest, but I think his character is going to be simpler than I'd, so that's what I'm going to attempt. But break time first, so go grab a drink, hit the washroom, grab a snack, whatever. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Welcome back. We have finished Eyed, and we're moving on to Slippery Fill. Slippery Fill is right there. Fill doesn't have as many random lines as I had with Eyed, so that's helpful. So, let's get to it. All right. Well, let's not color on that layer. So I'm trying some different things with the lines here. Something about the way that this hat is sitting on his head that I've just been like, ugh, something weird about it. So far, so good. I think I need to increase the brightness on this one, or the opacity just a little bit, because I'm following the lines. No, this line's still like him. That's better. And that's better. That's the trouble with brushes that adjust their thickness based on the pressure, is that sometimes you get to the end of your line and push harder. Those look like something that's coming around the top. So this is going to go through that one, and this goes around the top. All right, we're looking pretty good here. There we go. Now we're making good time here. Is that everything? I think it is. Sweet. All right, so where's Slippery Phil? I said, where's Slippery Phil? There he is. Oh, oh, there we go. Let's start blocking in colors. I'm going to start painting Phil. There we go. We'll hit our bucket trick. And that is all the green on Slippery Phil that we can see. I'll grab the kind of off-white down here. I guess that's pink. We'll highlight that up real nice. His hat is that bright blue. I'll take that blue because if I do the whole thing, I highlight color, then it's going to be overwhelming again. I might just do the belt buckle here, or the buckle on it as well, just to get it covered. And come back in and take that out, or just color over top. Okay. And then this chest piece in my brain, I thought this was going to be white, but obviously I am misremembering. There we go. Nice dark color. Suppose that makes sense given that his jowl, if that's what that is called, is that kind of white color. A white shirt, it would all look like it was the same thing. Oh, sorry, Ian, I missed your message if you're still here. Hope you have a good flight, man. Hopefully they don't get any trouble with that flight. You guys get home safe. Hope it's been a good trip. Thanks for hanging out. Realizing that this color is probably more akin to that color there because I think it's just that this color was in shadow. Okay, so it's the buckle that is this color. We're just going to make this all the same color. And here's a great example. This is going to be a metal belt buckle, but it's just going to look like everything else. I shouldn't have put this on the same layer as that. Oh well. I'm just having a realization that if I'm throwing a sepia tone in all of these, the color is minimally important that I get it perfectly right, as long as the shades of the different things match the desired look or design. Then the sepia tone is going to come in and kind of negate some of that color. Obviously, not all of it. You can see over on Ides, which is currently blocked by slippery fill. Some of it will be blocked by that. Yeah, okay. Let's get in here. That's kind of a brighter color in there. That's that inside portion. Do that under the belt, and I'll do that under this one as well, just because. Oh, went with or overlapped the white there a little bit. Change that. Now, I think because Slippery Phil has such vibrant color in the different things, I think for his shading, I am going to have to do um, the other format where I use colors, specific colors to highlight and shade. But thankfully, I have Slippery Phil right there as my palette to sort out what should be what. So. Oh, there we go. And then he's got this kind of like goldy yellow. I'm gonna go with that there. These emblems, these things that come into this leather strip here, they have many colors in the Hero Forge character. I think I might just simplify it down. I might just make them this gold color, because they're already kind of attached to the gold color. So what are they actually there? There's a lot of, there's blue, white, brown. I'm gonna do that last. Let me do his jacket first. And what is that that's going on there? Okay, so that's not white. That's like a kind of a brown. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's do this. I like that little accent, actually. That's cool. All right. Oh, his eyes. Oh, let's grab that color there. And we're just going to use that color for the inside here. And then as well for right here, because that seems to be a very similar color that's used for both. All right, so there's the base colors for Slippery Fill. Now we got to come in and do um, highlights and shadows. So let's start with shadows. Shadows are always easiest, I find. Now, because he is a frog, I'm not going to use that texture brush for his face. I am going to use um, a smooth brush because it is, you know, frog skin. We're just going to kind of copy the... I'm just seeing now that his head should come out like this. I can make that change. Hmm. I need to thin out this line a little bit. So that's actually going to be the highlight area down there. So I'm going to go down to this little thing right here. I kind of bring it up. And so I think my light source is going to come in from this side this time. So if this is Slippery Phil's face looking here, the light's going to come in from this side. So it'll always be the side that he's facing where the light's going to come in, which means that the other side of his face can be darker. But I'm going to follow kind of the same structures that are in that one over there. That's a different color entirely. And this sort it's interesting. He's got the kind of a red in there. And that's where sometimes like shadows are not just simply, a graying of an area. There's different things that are happening from time to time. And so there is certainly value in using color to shade. Although I suppose again, I'm maybe getting too involved in this because this is all going to be sepia toned. Let's grab a lighter green. We're going to start our highlights now. We'll go like that. Throw a little bit more light into that. And get the blur tool out here just a little bit. And because this is skin, it's a lot smoother than, you know, a jacket or something is. So I'll smooth this out a little bit. I'll smooth out the low lights here as well. The shadows, just ever so slightly. I think that's looking pretty good. Pretty comparable. I might just throw just a little less of the shadow in there. I think that's good. Oh, not open. Save. And I might just throw a tiny little bit of shadow on top of these eyeballs. Just to show that it is, in fact, under something. I like the way that that looks. I do think that there needs to be a highlight in there if I'm going to do that. So that looks good. All right, so let's get the hat going. So we're going to grab that blue there, go hat, do some of that. Well, let's have a little bit of fun with this bright teal color. Kind of help some of these areas pop a little bit. Not a lot of variety in that though, so I might actually go with something a bit brighter. Really hit some of these highlight areas with it. That's better. That's not hat. That's buckle. That'll be muted a little bit by the sepia tone wash that we put on top of it. So let's come in and hit this buckle with the proper color that it's going to be. Let's do this though. Just seeing that we're almost at 11. 10:37. It's only so much later that I'm going to want to go here. See if we can't finish off Slippery Phil before we run out of time. Yeah, it makes sense that this is going to be that same kind of white metal-y thing, like the other buckles. Come in here with a little bit of a gray. All right, looking good, looking good. Let's get on to his jowl here. So that's that layer there. Yep. Again, this is going to be this airbrush thing because the skin will be smooth. Throw just a little bit of a shade here because he does have the slightest overbite. Not really an overbite at all. Overbite's not the right word. Yeah, I don't want to be nice and dark in there. I think we come in with the brightest color that we got here, this one. And we'll hit it with a highlight. Right along there. So there's a shadow kind of right beneath that upper lip. Right down onto the lower lip. I'm just going to smooth this out just ever so slightly. Do the same with the shadow layer underneath, because right now it looks kind of blotchy. And we'll come in here and we will erase all this overpaint. That's the hat done. That's the eyes. That's basically the whole head. So now we move down to, I guess this is the next layer. All right, so we're gonna grab that color and we're gonna grab some of that color. It gets pretty dark pretty fast on this thing. I think I will grab the texture brush that I've been using. And we're just gonna throw some texture down on this. You want that kind of, that reddy brown to pop, but it should pop through shadows. Okay, so let's grab a little bit of this highlight color. Now we've got our shadows. We're going to start hitting this with just ever so slightly. I'm going to come back in with this. All right, I like this. Is the gold? Did I just put the gold right into that? I did. Interesting that it doesn't look like it's getting onto the gold at all. Okay, there we go. I don't want a terrible amount here, but I do want just a little bit. So it doesn't look like a solid field of gold coming off here. Not the right color, but it's going to get me there. Hit me with some of this bright yellow. I'm going to come in here and just bring in a little bit of this Let's keep motoring here. So the blue of the jacket, let's give ourselves a dark blue for low lights. Then we're going to come in here with something a little bit bigger. And again, I kind of want to texture the whole jacket with this. So that those highlights can really stick through. Yeah, let's grab a highlight color. I'll go with something like that. And with the texture brush, and let's hit them with something a little brighter. That's not much brighter. I might hit that. I might bring that up a little bit, bump it. Ah, that'll do it. It was sitting under the shadow layer. That will certainly kill it a little bit. I think I'm going to go even brighter, though. Make it a little bit smaller. Yes, I'm still watching. It's looking good. Let's get give me something dark here. Yep. Okay. Almost done slippery fill. Bring that back up. So got to think about where would these shadows be here. Again, starting on this side, it'd be just a little bit darker because of its proximity to light or lack of proximity. A little bit under here. A little bit under here because of where it is, and then definitely darker under here because of the belt. Just clean up the edges here. Okay, and then is there like it's a highlight color right there that we can use? Draw our new layer. I think that looks pretty good. Then what? We just got the belt. Hmm. I wonder, do I just throw... I could try basic shadows on this one. Oh yeah, still gotta fill those, I still gotta do those. Which layer has... Oh, there it is. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Uh, I'm just gonna be a little cheater. These are just gonna be black. Oh. Okay, so now the decision. What is happening with these? Over here, there are these white, blue, brown strap things over here that I don't think they're big enough really to do that. I might just make them gold. Make them gold and call it a day. Not that I'm trying to cheap out. I don't know what to do. really with these otherwise. So if I just do this, grab that color, put that back on, and if I just color these that same color, I should be able to just grab the shading that I've already done from here. Now, could I take, let me fix this first. Which layer is it? It's this layer. Could I just take this bright color here? And could I do this? It's not amazing, but I don't hate it. Okay. So then if I do the same thing that I did with save this as a PNG, we'll do that. No. Cancel. So then if we open up this one, bring over Slippery Fill. Let me give him the even just duplicate that layer and drag it over. I think that looks pretty good. And if I just come in here and remove some of the bottom here to kind of fade it all out into I think that looks pretty good. And then bring back in the portrait frames. Something like that. Something like that. I think that's not bad. All right, that I don't know why I thought I was gonna have time to do all four, but we've done two, and I'm pretty happy with how they have turned out. Like now that I've had some time away from Ide, I come back to it. I think I like it better, and I think I really like the way that Slippery Fill has come out. These two are going to be just terrible because they're people, and people are so hard to get right. But happy with how things are for now. I think that's a good place for us to call it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. For those of you that join me live, if you're watching the VOD, great. Thank you for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. I don't know what's happening next week, but we might be back with a game. Summer is always really hard. If nothing else, we should be back to a regular D&D and Pathfinder in the fall, and we'll get to see these characters kind of played out more and learn more about their backstory and where they're headed. So thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Happy end of summer. Hope you have some good, relaxing times ahead before you get back into the grind of school or, just regular seasonal work. If you're my age, there's really no summer break. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you are having a good summer. I hope you continue to have a good summer, and we'll see you next time. Peace.